If your boss is about to fire you, you usually know weeks before it actually happens. You might not realize you know, but somewhere in the back of your mind, something feels off. Meetings get weird. Emails get colder. The work you used to love handling suddenly disappears from your plate. A coworker stops making eye contact. A director who used to pull you into strategy calls doesn't anymore. Today, I'm walking you through the 4 signs that tell you with near certainty that your employer is building a case to push you out the door. So you can stop guessing, start documenting, and start protecting yourself before the axe falls. Quick note before we dive in. I'm not a lawyer, and nothing in this video counts as legal advice. If you think you're about to be fired and you want to know your rights, your next step is to actually talk to an employment attorney in your state, and a lot of them offer free initial consultations. What I'm sharing here comes from years of watching the same playbook get run on workers over and over again, talking to people inside HR, and reading court filings where the truth finally came out. Use this as a heads up, not as a substitute for real counsel. Sign 1. The vibe shifts. This is almost always the first signal, and it's the one most people feel before they can name it. Your manager, your director, the person who used to chat with you in the break room suddenly treats you differently. Sometimes the change is loud. Your name gets dropped from email threads you used to be on. Big projects you would normally lead get handed to somebody else. Your responsibilities get quietly trimmed down to busy work that anyone could do. And in some cases, your whole job description gets rewritten without anybody sitting you down to explain why. Other times, the shift is so subtle you start questioning your own perception. The boss who used to smile at you in the hallway now looks past you. The team lead who used to invite you to grab lunch now eats alone or with someone new. One-on-ones get rescheduled, then rescheduled again, then quietly canceled. You start to wonder if you're imagining it. You're not. Pay close attention to how communication itself changes, because that detail tells you everything. If your manager used to call you or stop by your desk, and now everything moves to email and Slack, that is a signal. They are starting to document. And the reverse is also a signal. If everything used to be in writing, and now your boss only wants to talk in person with no record, that is a signal too. They are trying to leave themselves room to deny what was said. Either direction tells you the relationship has moved from collaboration to caution. A vibe shift on its own does not guarantee you are getting fired. People have bad weeks. Companies go through stress. But when this shift hits, mark the date in your head, because what comes next usually follows a very predictable pattern. Sign 2. The write-ups start landing. Once a company decides you are on the way out, the priority becomes legal protection. Employers, especially mid-sized and large ones, are terrified of wrongful termination lawsuits and discrimination claims. So before they pull the trigger, they build what attorneys call a paper trail. And the first bricks in that wall are written warnings. You might get written up for a performance issue you have never been flagged on before. You might get written up for tone, for attitude, for so-called insubordination, which is a wonderfully vague word that can mean almost anything an employer wants it to mean. One of the most common ones is tardiness. Suddenly, the manager who never cared if you walked in at 9:05 is timing your arrivals to the minute and putting it in your file. Here is the tale. Look at how the rule is actually being applied to other people. If you are getting written up for showing up 5 minutes late, and 3 or 4 of your coworkers regularly stroll in at the same time with no consequences, you are not being held to a standard. You are being targeted. Selective enforcement is one of the loudest signals in the entire firing playbook. It tells you the rule is not really the point. You are the point. This is also where the system gets especially ugly for Black workers, brown workers, older workers, pregnant workers, and anyone who has recently filed a complaint or used protected leave. The same minor infraction that gets a casual reminder for one employee becomes a formal write-up for another. That difference is not random. That difference is documented evidence in a future lawsuit if you save it. So save it. Save copies of every write-up. Save the emails around them. Save the Slack messages where coworkers joke about being late or talk about missing the same deadlines you got dinged for. Take screenshots and forward them to a personal email account, because the day they fire you, your work account gets cut off in about 10 seconds. If this ever turns into a legal matter, that documentation is gold. And if it doesn't, you still walk away with a clearer picture of what was actually happening to you, which protects your sanity. Sign 3. The performance review turns ugly. The next move in the playbook is the surprise negative review. If your last 3 reviews said you were meeting or exceeding expectations, and suddenly your new one reads like it was written about a completely different employee, something is going on. The company is not having a sudden crisis of honesty. The company is building the file. What makes these reviews especially disorienting is that they are rarely complete fiction. A skilled manager who has been told by HR to document a problem employee will take real moments and bend them. Maybe you missed one deadline 6 months ago because the data team handed you bad numbers. In the review, that becomes a pattern of failing to deliver. Maybe you pushed back in one meeting because the proposed plan made no sense. In the review, that becomes a culture fit issue or a problem with collaboration. Maybe you took 2 days off for a family emergency. In the review, that becomes a question about your commitment to the team. This bend the truth approach is harder to fight than an outright lie. You can't really say it didn't happen because some piece of it did. You end up arguing about interpretation, and interpretation always favors whoever is writing the document. If you get hit with a review like this, your move is not to argue verbally and let it go. Your move is to respond in writing. Almost every HR system lets you submit a written rebuttal that goes into your personnel file right alongside the review. Use it. Stay calm, be specific, attach evidence where you have it, name dates and projects, and stick to facts. You may not change the company's mind, and honestly, you probably won't. But you create your own paper trail that sits next to theirs. And if a lawyer ever pulls your file later, your version of events is right there in black and white. Sign 4. They put you on a performance improvement plan. This is the closer. Smaller companies often skip this step entirely and just fire people. But mid-sized and larger employers love a good PIP because of how it looks on paper. A performance improvement plan, on the surface, sounds like a second chance. The company writes down what you need to fix, gives you a window of maybe 30 or 60 or 90 days to fix it, and frames the whole thing as an opportunity to grow. In practice, the overwhelming majority of PIPs end in termination, and the people who design them often know that going in. Look at the goals on the plan. If they are concrete and reasonable, like raising your weekly output by 10% or closing 2 more deals per quarter, you might actually have a real shot. But pay close attention if the goals are vague. Improve collaboration. Demonstrate stronger leadership. Show better judgment. Become more proactive. Those words mean nothing measurable, which means whether you passed or failed is entirely up to the same managers who already decided they want you gone. Then look at the timeline. 30 days to fix issues that nobody flagged 6 months ago. 60 days to hit numbers that nobody on your team has ever hit. The math is usually rigged from the jump. A PIP also serves a second purpose for the employer that almost nobody talks about. If you decide the writing is on the wall and you start job hunting hard while on the plan, the company saves the cost of severance because you quit first. If you stay and miss the goals, they fire you with a clean, documented record. Either way, the company wins. The plan is a coin flip where both sides are heads for them. So if you find yourself reading a PIP, take it as a serious sign and start running two paths in parallel. On one path, you do the work the plan asks for. You hit every milestone you can. You document everything in writing. You ask clarifying questions in email and save the answers. On the other path, you update your resume that night. You reach out to your network the next day. You are no longer working with the assumption that this job is yours next quarter. You are working with the assumption that you have 1 to 3 months to land somewhere new on your own terms. There it is, the playbook. A vibe shift, then a wave of write-ups, then a surprise negative review, then a performance improvement plan. These steps almost always show up in that order, and the further down the list you are, the closer you are to the door. Now, here is what I want you to take away from all of this. None of these signs mean you actually did anything wrong. Companies fire people for budget reasons. Companies fire people because a new manager wants their own crew. Companies fire people because someone higher up needs a scapegoat for a missed quarter. Companies fire people because you asked for a raise, or you took protected leave, or you complained about something they didn't want investigated. The system you are working inside of is not designed to be fair to you. It is designed to protect the company. Knowing the playbook is how you stop getting blindsided by it. If you spotted yourself in any of these 4 signs this week, here is what to do right now. First, pull copies of every positive review, every commendation, every client thank you, every email where someone praised your work, and forward them to a personal email address. Do this before anything else because access can disappear overnight. Second, quietly start your job search before you are forced to. Update your resume. Refresh your LinkedIn. Reach out to 2 or 3 people in your network and let them know you are open to conversations. The best leverage you will ever have in any job is options somewhere else. Third, if anything in your situation involves discrimination, harassment, retaliation for reporting wrongdoing, or a violation of leave laws like FMLA, talk to an employment attorney before you sign anything the company puts in front of you, including a severance agreement. Once you sign, your rights are gone. You are not paranoid. You are paying attention. And paying attention is how you stay one step ahead of a system that was never built to look out for you in the first place. If this video helped you see your situation more clearly, hit that subscribe button so the next one finds you when you need it. I'll see you in the next one.